वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान्यन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
Today we sit with one of the most famous and most comforting verses in all of Sanskrit literature. It comes from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 22. Listen with the sound of it first. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grihnati naro aparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Just as a person casts off worn out clothes and puts on new ones, in the same way the embodied one, the dehi, casts off worn out bodies and moves into new ones. Let us open the words themselves, because in Sanskrit the words carry the philosophy inside them. Vasamsi means garments, clothes. It comes from the root vas, which means to wear, and also, beautifully, to dwell in. A garment is literally that which you dwell inside. Jirnani means worn out, decayed, grown old. It comes from the root jri, to wither, the same root that gives us the word jara, old age. Yatha means just as. Vihaya means having cast off, having let go completely. Navani means new ones. Grihnati means he takes up, he accepts. Nara is simply a man, a person. Aparani means others. Then the second half turns the key. Tata, in the same way. Sharirani means bodies, and here is the first hidden jewel. Sharira comes from the root shri, which means to waste away, to break down. So in Sanskrit, the very word for body means the thing that decays. The language itself refuses to let you forget what the body is. Anyani, other ones. Samyati, he moves fully into, he passes completely over. And finally, dehi, the embodied one, the wearer of the body. Deha, the body, comes from the root di, to mold, to shape like clay. So the body is the molded thing and the dehi is the one who wears the mold. Notice the grammar. Dehi is a possessive word like dhani, a wealthy person, one who has wealth. Dehi means one who has a body, not one who is a body, one who has one, the way you have a coat. Now where does this verse come from? Picture the scene. Two vast armies face each other at Kurukshetra. In the space between them stands a single chariot. Arjuna, the greatest warrior of his age, has just collapsed. He has looked across the battlefield and seen his grandfather Bhishma, his teacher Drona, his cousins, his childhood. His bow has slipped from his hands. He says, I will not fight. To kill my own family can only bring sin and endless grief. And Krishna, his charioteer and his friend, begins to teach. But notice what Krishna does not do. He does not begin with duty. He does not say, get up and do your job. He goes underneath the grief, to the belief that is causing it, the belief that death is an ending, that something real is about to be destroyed. Just 2 verses earlier, Krishna has made the great declaration, Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. The self is never born and never dies. And then, because a doctrine is hard to hold but an image is easy, he gives Arjuna this picture. Changing clothes. Something Arjuna has done every single day of his life. And here is where the verse becomes truly profound. Look at how ordinary the verbs are. Grihnati, he picks up new clothes. Samyati, the self simply moves along into a new body. There is no thunder here, no cosmic catastrophe. Krishna deliberately describes death in the most boring vocabulary available. Getting dressed. That is the teaching hidden in the tone itself. Death feels like catastrophe only when we stand too close. Seen truly, says Krishna, it is routine, as unremarkable as putting on a fresh shirt in the morning. Notice also the direction of the action. The man discards the garment because the garment is worn out. The garment never discards the man. The self is never the victim of death. The body is set down when its work is done, the way you retire an old coat that no longer serves you. Death happens to bodies. It never happens to the one who wears them. There is one more hidden thread. The word for garment, vasas, and the word vasana, meaning a deep mental impression, a tendency of character, both grow from the same root. What travels with the dehi from body to body, the tradition says, is precisely the vasanas, the inner clothing of habit and desire. At death, you change the outer garment, the inner garment of character you carry with you. Which is why the Gita spends the rest of its 18 chapters not on preserving the body, but on purifying what you wear inside it. Now, this intuition is not India's alone. In Athens, hours before drinking the poison, Socrates smiled at his friend Crito and said, "You may bury me if you can catch me." He meant the corpse would not be Socrates. In the Christian scriptures, Saint Paul calls the body an earthly tent that will be folded away. The Stoic philosophers called the body cleverly molded clay, an instrument we use, not what we are. And modern science adds a quite astonishing footnote. The body you are sitting in right now is not the body you had a few years ago. The lining of your stomach replaces itself in about a week. Your red blood cells every 4 months. Even your skeleton is slowly rebuilt over the years. Materially speaking, you have already cast off several bodies in this one lifetime. And yet, you remained. Something persisted through every change of clothes. The verse simply asks, what is that something? Psychology too has caught up with Krishna. Researchers who study the fear of death have found that this hidden terror silently drives an enormous amount of human behavior. Our craving for status, our tribalism, our restlessness. And modern therapy teaches a skill it calls disidentification. Learning to say, I am having the thought that I am a failure instead of I am a failure. That tiny gap between the wearer and the garment is exactly the gap this verse opens. I have a body, I have thoughts, I have roles, but the one who has them is not the same as what is had. So let me leave you with 3 questions to carry into your own manana, your own deep reflection. First, your childhood body is gone, every cell of it. Yet you clearly persisted. What exactly is it that persisted? Do not rush to an answer. Sit with the question. Second, which garments beyond the body are you currently mistaking for yourself? A job title, a role, a reputation, an old opinion? What would change today if you held it like a coat, worn gladly but removable? Third, when you imagine your own death, what precisely is the fear attached to? Does it survive this verse? And one simple practice for tonight. When you undress before bed, do it slowly, deliberately. As each garment comes off, set down one identity you wore today. The professional, the parent, the one who was praised, or the one who was hurt. Say quietly inside, "This too I wore, and this too is not me." Then, in the last moment before sleep, notice what remains when all the day's clothing has been set down. That silent remainder, says Krishna, was never born and will never die. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. Just worn out clothes set aside by one who was always more than anything he ever wore. Om Shanti Shanti Shantahi.
वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान्यन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि